Morgan Robertson never claimed to be a mystic. Before he sat down to write, he spent years at sea, working his way up from a cabin boy to the first mate on merchant vessels. His knowledge of maritime engineering came entirely from physical labor. He understood ships from the inside, from the heat of the engines and the tension of the ropes, not from theoretical blueprints. In the late 1890s, Robertson left the ocean and turned to fiction, publishing a short novella in 1898 called Futility. The plot centers on a terrifying scenario. The largest ship ever built, deemed completely unsinkable, strikes an iceberg in the North Atlantic and goes down with most of its passengers. The book sold modestly. Within a few years, the public forgot about it entirely. History's most chillingly accurate warning initially went completely ignored, sitting quietly on shelves disguised as a failed piece of pulp fiction. 14 years later, in April 1912, that exact scenario played out in real life when the Titanic sank to the bottom of the ocean. The massive death toll sent a shockwave across the globe. Grieving populations demanded to know how the pinnacle of human engineering could fail so completely. In the scramble for answers, Robertson's 14-year-old novel was unearthed and rushed back into print as readers noticed the horrifying parallels. The timeline defied logic. A former sailor had accurately detailed a catastrophe involving a ship that hadn't even been designed when he put pen to paper. The impossibility of those dates turns a standard maritime tragedy into an intellectual mystery about the rigid line between predictability and prophecy. This comparison matrix visualizes the forensic overlaps between Robertson's text and reality, starting with the almost identical names, Titan on the left, Titanic on the right. The massive physical footprints line up seamlessly. Robertson wrote his fictional vessel at 800 feet long. The Titanic measured 882. The engine capabilities match as well, with both ships tearing across the water at reckless top speeds of 25 and 24 knots. The environmental conditions align perfectly. Both behemoths were traveling fast through the North Atlantic, specifically in the month of April, and both vessels ultimately met their end by striking an iceberg. The sheer volume of precise quantitative overlaps pushes past a vague guess. It demands a logical explanation for how a sailor knew the numbers. Beyond the measurements, the most devastating shared trait involves a deeply human failure, a fatal shortage of lifeboats. In 1898, Robertson knew exactly how the industry operated. Shipbuilders were actively removing safety equipment to maximize open deck space, knowing wealthy passengers preferred unobstructed views over emergency gear. When the Titanic went down, that exact corporate calculation became the central scandal of the century, condemning hundreds to death. Predicting the lifeboat shortage required no supernatural ability. It was the mathematical result of an industry prioritizing economics and aesthetics over human survival. In 1912, as the media whipped into a frenzy over the coincidences, reporters tracked Robertson down to ask if he possessed supernatural sight. He answered with a blunt denial. He simply understood the greed of the shipping industry and the brutal physics of moving impossibly massive objects through ice fields. His novel operated as a stress test. He took the engineering arrogance of his era and played it out to its darkest logical conclusion. True predictive power relies on a cold, unromantic understanding of flawed systems. Logic perfectly explains his grasp of the systemic failures. But physics and economics cannot explain how he guessed the exact name, the precise vessel length, or the month of April. Those numbers leave us with a haunting reminder. Sometimes history just rhymes in the dark.